Alrighty everybody, Lawrence here, and we have a deck profile of a placing Toon deck, and I want to emphasize something I want to do with my deck profiles on this channel. I don't want to just throw out a deck profile, because I could throw out anything really. I could say, okay, well here's 40 Toon cards, and this is what they're supposed to do, but you know, if it doesn't place, I don't think it's worth it. So my deck profiles are going to I think the three so far, including this one, they've all placed at some level. Whether or not, and when I say placing, I mean you have placed high enough in the tournament ladder so that you get some form of extra prizing. I don't care if it's one extra pack of cards. You want extra prizing, you placed. It can work, is all I'm saying. I think I got that point across. We will get into this. This is a Toon deck. If you've been following my replays that I've been putting out there, you kind of have an idea of what this deck's going to be already, but there have been a few little tweaks here and there. Alright, and let's go ahead and just get the big boys out of the way. Red Eyes Dark Dragon, or Red Eyes Dark Magician, and Red Eyes Fusion. We are running the Dragoon package in this. This deck would not work without it. Unfortunately, it's Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is an extremely good, solid card that you can put into pretty much any deck. The problem with the Toon deck running it, though, is you do run a pretty significant risk of either banishing the Dragoon and Verte from the extra deck or any of these three pieces from the main deck. And you especially do not want to see any of these three in your opening hands. You don't want to draw into any of them in general. In fact, I would say the only reason I placed today is because I got lucky and never drew into these two, and a couple of times opened with this and was able to just be like, okay, well, Red Eyes Fusion, let me throw out my guy. So there is that. Next up, we're going to go ahead and get into the Toon cards. We run 3 Toon Kingdoms, obviously. Why wouldn't you? Toon Kingdom it takes the name Toon World while it's on the board, and generally speaking, your Toon cards do not work without this card on the field. So the extra thing about Toon Kingdom, though, is while it is on the board, your Toon monsters cannot be targeted by card effects, and should they be destroyed by battle or card effect, well, you just banish the top card from your deck and save them. So it's a really good defensive tool. We're going to throw out the next Toon Bookmarks, and we are going to throw out Toon Table of Contents with the Toon Bookmarks because they accomplish the same thing. These are essentially 6 searchers for the deck. Now, the thing you need to realize about Toons is you don't have combos. You know, like a Virtual World or a Drytron or a Tri-Brigade or 6 Samurai or any of those. You don't have combos. You have cards you're trying to get to, if that makes any sense. You have 6 searchers that get you to basically Comic Hand and a Toon Kingdom. That's pretty much it. Toon Table of Contents searches out anything that has Toon in the title of the card. So it will not search out Comic Hand, Manga Reran, or Mimicat. Comic Hand is the only one we're worried about. Toon Bookmark, on the other hand, will search out the Comic Hand, the Mimicat, and the Manga Reran because it searches anything that has Toon World in its text. Funny enough, this searches this, but this does not search this. So, not to show my channel or anything, but I did a whole video on that, and I would recommend it gets a look. So, recommend a viewing, if you will. Next up, we are running a pair of Comic Hands, and I can probably cut this down as soon as I figure out a way to get some recursion from the banish pile. Comic Hand is probably your big playmaker. You steal an opponent's monster with it. Simple as that. If Toon World is on the board, which Toon Kingdom takes the name of, you play this, you snatch it from their side, and it turns it into a Toon. You can either defend with it and just wall your life points off, or you can start attacking direct damage, or heck, if it's a negate, you get to use their negate. It's pretty cool, and it's fantastic disruption on the enemy team. Or why do I say enemy team? Because I've been playing League a lot lately, that's why. It's fantastic enemy board disruption. going into the Toon monsters, we are running two Toon Cyber Dragons. The reason we are running two Toon Cyber Dragon is because they can special summon themselves. If your opponent has cards and your opponent has monsters and you do not, which you're planning on going second with this deck, should almost always be fulfilled. So put that out there, and we will talk more about them in the extra deck. But for right now, you put it out there, you either wall or you do something else with it that we will get to over there. Next up, we have 3 Toon Mermaids. Now the Toon Mermaids are there because they special summon. That's it. If you have Toon World active on the board, they special summon themselves. It's a free body. Next up we have 3 Toon Harpy Ladies. The reason we are running 3 Toon Harpy Ladies is, again, generally speaking, it's a free body. You can normal summon it, which you cannot do with Toon Mermaid, I forgot to mention, but if you have Toon World on the board, you can special summon it from the hand. If you have Toon World and a Toon Monster already on the board, you can special summon it from the hand and destroy one card on the, or destroy one spell or trap on the opponent's side of the field. It does not target, so I mention that for this reason and this reason specifically. Let's say I play Toon Harpy Lady, special summon in defense mode, and I say, alright, now I'm going to activate the effect to summon and destroy one of your spells or traps. Does not target. If they are going to chain anything, it has to be then. Okay, so if they have something face down that they were saving for something else, they would have to use it or lose it, because it does not target. It's all about the verbiage of the effect and the rulings of the game. So just keep that in mind. This card does not target. If they are going to try chain anything, they have to chain the card and hope it's not the one you plan on picking. Next up, we have our Blackluster Soldier. I'll be real with you, he's in there because he's the collector's rare. That's pretty much it. I think I used him maybe once during the last tournament that I placed with. He can attack the turn he is summoned, so he's got that going for him. But for the most part, he's a 3,000 attack direct attacker, and should you attack, you cannot banish, and should you banish, you cannot attack. So you get one effect or the other. And forgot to mention his effect is to banish a card on the field. But I will likely be taking him out, but if I were to maintain a higher level monster in there, it would definitely be that one. So that's our Toons. Now we're going to go into some of the other stuff that may come off a little bit surprising. 2 Lightning Strike, or 2 Thunder King Lightning Strike Kaijus, 2 Gamaciel the Sea Turtle Kaiju, and 3 Lava Golems. Alright. We are essentially running 7 Kaijus. I know Lava Golem doesn't count as a Kaiju, but it effectively does the same thing, except it takes off more of the opponent's monsters, which is the bonus right there. We are running 2 and 3 because I found that having 3 of each was too cloggy and too bricky, and I would open up with either 2 of these or 2 of these or 2 of these or something like that, in some kind of combination where I just wanted other cards in my hand. So running 7 of each, I have not had that problem. Ideally, they have enough cards for us to pop Lava Golem. You pop Lava Golem, they start burning per turn. Lava Golem can't kill any of the Toons. If they only have 1 negate on the board, or 1 monster on the board, or just you only have access to one of these, throw Gamaciel out, special summon Thunder King on your side of the field, or throw Gamaciel out, Comic Hand it, you know, all sorts of things you can do with it. This deck is about going second and breaking the opponent's board, so bear that in mind. What you do is you summon one of these, or one of this, onto the opponent's side of the field, and you steal it with Comic Hand, and you can start swinging for direct damage because Comic Hand will turn all 3 of these into Toons. So let's move on. Next up, we have some basic spells. So we are running 3 Pot of Prosperity and 2 Pot of Extravagance. We have 5 specific draw cards in the deck because there was a spreadsheet I saw that did the math on it. If you're running a 40-card deck, and mind you that these are essentially once per turns, doesn't specifically say once per turn, but it does say you can't draw cards by any other effects, which would, you know, make these once per turn basically. So the spreadsheet I was reading, it said if you want to see a once per turn card, you need to run 5 of them, essentially. Now, obviously you can only run max 3 of anything, but Pot of Prosperity is the ideal choice. Pot of Extravagance is the backup choice, because Pot of Extravagance does run the risk of banishing our Red Eyes Dragoon. But you're running 5 to have the best odds of having one of them in your opening hand for draws. Next up, we'll go ahead and do the last 5. 2 Trap Tricks, and 3 Harpies Featherstorm. Trap Trick puts Harpies Featherstorm on the board. Harpies Featherstorm is a kind of mini VFD in a sense, kind of sorta. So if you have a winged beast on the board and it's set, you flip it and you just straight negate all your opponent's monster effects that turn. If you have a Harpy Lady, you can activate it from your hand. Toon Harpy Lady is a Harpy Lady monster, so you can have this in your hand. They do something, they do anything you don't like. Hey, boom, I play Harpies Featherstorm. You do not get to activate any of your, well, it's not that you don't get to activate them, you get negated effects for the remainder of the turn. Doesn't even matter if the Harpy stays on the board or anything, it just maintains that you do not get any effects. So we are going into this now, the extra deck, and as I mentioned, Predator Plant, Verde Anaconda, and Red Eye Dark Dragoon. These, in a sense, made or broke the deck, because you're running Toon Kingdom, which will potentially banish the Red Eyes Black Dragon, Dark Magician, and Red Eyes Fusion from the deck, and you're running Pot of Extravagance, which will potentially banish these from the extra deck. It happens more often than I'd like it to. So this is your plan A. What I'm saying is make sure you have a good plan B with this deck, which you do. You still can break the opponent's board, you just can't make a strong play after you break it is the problem. Next up we have Tornado Dragon, 2 Abyss Dwellers, Bahamut Shark, and Totally Awesome. So Tornado Dragon, you have a lot of level 4s, you make them, you start popping your opponent's back row. Abyss Dweller, pretty much the same thing. You have a lot of level 4s, you make them, you lock them out of the graveyard. Bahamut Shark, you have the 2 Mermaids, you have 2 of them on the board, you make this, you use his effect to go into Totally Awesome, it's a free negate. Simple as that. Next up we have the Cyber Dragon specific cards, which are Cyber Dragon Nova, Cyber Dragon Infinity, and Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon. I always mess up this thing's name. Anyway, your 2 Toon Cyber Dragons can go into Cyber Dragon Nova, which can in turn go into Cyber Dragon Infinity. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would you do this when you can just use those 2 Toon Cyber Dragons to go into the Verde Anaconda? And to that I would say, style points. Is basically it. What you're mostly going to be doing with the Cyber Dragon is, if they have anything in Extra Monster Zone, you're going to be using it for Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon. Because it is a contact fusion, they cannot do anything about it. Next up we are running our Super Poly targets, which is the basic Panzer Dragon, Mud Dragon, Diplexer, whatever, Chimera, Predaplant, Drago something, and Starving Venom. Good against Darks. If they are running a Verte and Dragoon of their own, this Super Poly's out of that, and they don't get a chance to react to it. If they're running Cybers monsters, you take 2 of them away, you go into that. This is a just general broad purpose one, you go into that. And if you're running against Dragon Links, you get Cyber Dragon on the or Toon Cyber Dragon on the board, use Super Poly into this. Simple as that. Now we will go into the side deck, which is probably the most important part. Because if you think about it, you're going to be using your side deck more than you're going to be using anything else in the deck, right? So we are running 2 Cosmic Cyclones, 3 Galaxy Cyclones, and a Harpies Feather Duster. This is all back row removal. The reason I'm not running 2 Twin Twisters is because more often than not, I want everything in my hand, so I don't want to discard anything. And I'm usually not running into more than one back row anyway. Harpies Feather Duster is a free just blanket Raigeki on the back row. Galaxy first target a set card, and then turn 2 can target a face-up card, and Cosmic banishes. So 6 cards right there to do away with that. I'm going to put that right there. Obviously, we had all those super poly targets. Super polymization is in the deck somewhere. So we have our 3 super polys. I would use this specifically if I knew those super poly targets were going to be useful. Otherwise, I wouldn't generally bother, and I would just try to kaiju it out. So, there's that. I didn't use these once during the tournament. And then finally, what probably placed me in the tournament anyway. Without these, I think I would have been done. Floodgates. There can be only one summon limit. Summon limit's great with Toons because you're probably not going to summon more than once or twice anyway. Tickboo is great for Toons because you're running all sorts of different types. You're not really you're not relying on one type. You're not relying on warriors, not relying on dragons, whatever. You have so many different types of monsters you can play around Tickboo pretty easily. So there's that. Generally speaking, what I'll say is, so with my deck specifically in this tournament, the Kaijus in the deck were the main deck, and I tried my hardest to go turn 2. If I knew it wasn't going to work, I would take the Kaijus out and sub these in for turn 1, and to go into a turn 1 play. And yeah, I mean, they're the floodgates. That's about all there is to say about it. So let me go into this. And of course, we have our tokens. The good Pegasus token, Weevil, Joey, and a Primal Being token. I don't know why I have the Primal Being token in there. I don't really worry about getting to be rude, but whatever, we got it. Anyway, that is our deck profile for the Toons. It placed for me, so I am extremely happy with it. We're going to be tweaking it a little bit. I think Necroface does have a strong place in the deck now that I have manipulated it and done all sorts of different things with it. I can probably pitch one Comic Hand, I can definitely pitch the Blackluster Soldier, and I could maybe pitch a Lava Golem. So that would be 3 extra spots, but it's getting pretty tight in here, so we're reaching the end of what I can do with this. Anyway, that is the deck profile for the Toons post, well, it's not post ban list because officially this tournament was one before the ban list came out or took effect, so we knew what was getting banned, but he wasn't in effect yet. Yeah, March 2021. Yep, Toon deck list. There you go. Hope you enjoy it, and y'all go out there and treat each other like y'all have some sense.